Welcome to the American Business Podcast. I'm Kevin Devecioglu, your host, and welcoming you episode 177. We are in Season 6 in the American Business Podcast. Today's number, $97 billion. The US architectural services market is projected to grow over $97 billion by 2030. Quote of the day. As you know, we have a great partnership with missionstatements.com. And here is the quote of the day. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Okay, in the American Business Podcast, I have a special guest today. I'm going to invite our guest to our stage and let's get the conversation started. Hello, Lindsay. Welcome to the American Business Podcast.
Hi, Kevin. Thanks so much for having me.
Pleasure is all mine. It's very nice meeting you. And
Nice
thank
meeting
you
you
for being
also.
with us today. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
How are you? How is your week going so far?
Everything's going great. Thanks.
Great. Where are you connecting out of?
We're in West Palm Beach, Florida.
This is great. Well, in the American Business Podcast, because we are a national podcast, we have guests coming from different parts of the country, and we love to talk about where they connect from. So this is great. Thank you so much for being with us. And I've been actually waiting for this conversation. Your products are very interesting. I love to learn more. I love our audiences to learn more. So let's get the conversation started. As a start, would you please introduce yourself and your organization to our listeners and to our viewers?
Sure. I'm Lindsay Sher-Burgess, the founder and moss boss of Green Wallscapes. We make preserved moss walls, lettering, logo, and art, and we ship it all over the US and Canada. We have done over 1,000 projects at this point. We've been in Architectural Digest, Veranda Magazine, plenty of local publications. We've won awards for our work, and I'm just very proud of the team that we've built and our ability to do large-scale commercial applications of preserved moss walls.
Yes, I love it. It's very creative. As I was chatting with you earlier when we were preparing together, the first time I saw that was actually in Asia. I was actually pretty curious about it, and I'm glad that you are doing that business. Because what I saw was my first impression the first time when I saw it brings life and color to the concrete environment that we typically have. So that's
Yeah.
really exciting. How would you how would you see it when you create it in the projects? I'm sure it brings life to buildings.
Yeah, so we, love that everything is so sterile because there is such a desperate need for people to see something that is natural and green and grounding when most people spend the majority of their time indoors. And then they also spend time in either glass boxes, beige boxes, white boxes, gray boxes. Like that's what the majority of office buildings are right now. So this
Yes.
brings in some really beautiful grounding energy, even if you're 40 stories in the air, right? And so it's a great solution. We do a lot of corporate offices, we do a lot of hotels, we do people's homes. We do all sorts of different things where people they just are sort of really hungry for an additional connection to nature, but they may or may not have a green thumb. And so what we found is that the reason people like the preserved moss is one, it can go in an area that doesn't require additional lighting. It doesn't require ongoing maintenance. Like once or twice a year, you have to dust it, and that's about it. And then everything else is you just put it up and you enjoy it. You do not water it. If you are in a place like we were talking about where you're in New York, sometimes it gets dry in the winter. You might need to steam it with a clothing steamer, but that's really only as needed, or put a humidifier by it and then just don't touch it. And it's just meant to just be put up and enjoyed. And we have done moss on the ceiling. We just finished a moss ceiling install today. And so, we just love putting moss in places that are both expected and unexpected. And it was I started this business in my house, just for fun. I was just doing this very much as a casual side hustle for a couple of years. And then in 2018, when I was looking for a new opportunity, my husband encouraged me to see he said, do this for 6 months and see if it works. And pretty much immediately we got opportunities coming through the door, little ones, but they were still opportunities. And I thought, there's something here.
Mhm.
And then the projects just got bigger and bigger and bigger. I grew this completely organically. I funded everything myself, all that with my husband, obviously.
Mhm.
And so, it's been a real labor of love over these last 9 years.
That's very interesting.
Mhm.
How did you come up with the idea? I'm really curious.
I think the way that most business plans start, which is I went on Pinterest and I saw a moss ball I liked and I couldn't afford it at the time. So I thought, well, I can make that myself. And I went to a craft store like one Saturday night, made a moss wall, made a little moss frame. And I thought to myself, like, this is cool. And I stuck it on Facebook. And some friends were like, that's cool. And then one person asked us for it. And then another person asked us for it. And another person asked for it. And then I was like, maybe there's a business here. And I did it very much as like a side hustle and a little Etsy business for like 1 to 2 years until, I had more time and capacity because I was a project that I was working on was ending. And I knew that I should try something. And I didn't like any of the job options that were available. So of course I had to make my own job. And so I made my own job. And here we are a million years later and a lot of installs and a lot of projects later, having done a lot of these projects nationwide.
Yeah,
So it's a crazy story. I mean, when I think about it, it's sort of like I just took it one step at a time, one moss ball at a time. And that's what you have to do.
yes, yes. I love listening to these stories, business stories. And that is the beauty of American business overall, right? This entrepreneurship, this innovation that we can bring to the country and share with consumers, customers, organizations. That is a fascinating story that what you are sharing with us. And what is the secret of your success?
I think continuously showing up and picking up the phone when people call. Those are the secrets to my success, and delivering on time. And I also think being honest and fixing mistakes. Those are the reasons that we are successful. We've had a lot of challenges in the last couple of years. Obviously, I started right before COVID, then had to go through COVID and supply chains and entitled employees and then great resignation and all, like anything that you can think of that would be like a challenge in a business environment. The last couple of years have been really, really interesting and very, very bumpy. And it's been fascinating. I mean, it's been really interesting to run a business during this time because you don't have sort of like typical situations, and now we've got AI. So now we've got a whole nother thing that's coming into this world. And people are like, well, what is it? Is it going to take everybody's jobs? Is it going to take nobody's jobs? Like, what's going to happen? And so every day I just go to work and I say, okay, did somebody order a moss wall today? Great. We are still employed. Let's keep making them, and I have to keep myself focused like that. So that, and frankly, I think that in the next, couple of years, as people, and as the AI thing, we figure out like where it fits with society and what the impacts truly are, not the hyped impacts, but the actual impacts, then we will see that people are going to gravitate more and more to the handmade, to the artisanal, to all of that stuff that makes it special and makes it feel really, really different and special and unique. And that's what we offer, is something that is made by people in America. And we're able to really do very cool out of the box applications of this plant material that I think we push the boundaries of design a lot with this material. And, we're super creative with it and love, challenges. So that's what's really, really neat about, how everything's been going. And we're also in a wellness trend too, because people are like desperate for grounding, they're desperate for nature, all of that kind of stuff. And so this hits both of those categories.
Can you tell us about the state of your industry? Any trends, any updates, anything that you can share with us in an educational?
So in terms of interior design, I think we're seeing, a move away from gray into beige. Or into whites and grays into beigey colors for the most part. It's still very stark. They are trying to warm spaces up a little bit because I think people went a little crazy with the beige for a couple of years there. So you're seeing that like on the office side. And then we're also seeing like a trend towards maximalism. So people who are just like going crazy with pattern and color and things like that, because things got so clean and stark that it became not really human or layered feeling. So now there's also that trend that we're seeing. In and there is that sort of, like I just said, overarching kind of wellness trend. Like, so how do your spaces actually make you feel? We see that as being a conversation that a lot of architects and developers are having right now, because they are trying to figure out, one, how do I differentiate myself from all the other product that's coming out there, all the other buildings that are coming out there? How do I make a space that people want to take pictures in front of, or, appeal to the younger generation? All of that kind of stuff. Those are the conversations they're having, and wellness is like a very big part of that. And so these walls fall under that category, because of the when we see nature, we calm down. It's like just in the way our brains are, because we lived in forests and we lived in nature for so long, until probably like the last, couple hundred years. And so there is that need that people have. And so this is a very easy way to do that and incorporate that into people's projects. So those are the main trends that I'm hearing and seeing, from our end and from our industry in general.
Yeah, this is very interesting. Sometimes I watch interior design related videos, and like they take a place and then they turn it upside down, and it becomes a completely different place, which is really like fascinating. You see the change, and
yeah,
you can really make a big impact with this design, regardless of how big it is, or how small it is, or how it is getting the lights and so on. That requires a lot of creativity.
Yeah, well, it's people will call us and they say like, I want to cover an entire wall with moss. And we look at their space and we think that like, that's going to be overkill. It's too small. They don't have the budget for it, like whatever it is. And so we work with people around like, okay, so how can we maximize certain things so that you get the most for the budget that you do have, as opposed to being like, well, we're not going to do anything because you don't have the budget. Like, we really try to work with people. Sometimes it's lettering that makes sense in their space. Sometimes it's a full wall that makes sense. I mean, we've done walls that are like 500 square feet. We've also done like, a sentence. So like, we can do a whole wide variety of applications with this stuff. And that's what's great about it. So, and we've had clients where they started with just some lettering and they loved it. And then they went and did another one. And then they went and did another one. I mean, we've been doing this a very long time. So, or designers where they have, 20 projects, and we've been on almost every single one in different ways. We are not married to, one way versus another.
And in terms of design, did you learn design in this business, or you already had some background?
So I have like an aesthetic eye. I don't have any formal training. I've always been like an artist in my house, making things and painting and drawing. And I can walk in a space and see that it's beautiful and understand why it's beautiful. But I've never been like formally trained, I think, other than like art classes growing up. And then I took a couple art classes in college, but it was never like, I know how to do art. My background is more, I've done a lot of marketing. Like that was, I know how to do marketing, and I also know how to do business development. So I have done a lot of business development before. I had to learn how to do manufacturing. I had to do how to import material from Europe. I had to learn how to, how to manage people and manage expectations. I've had to learn how to project manage. I've learned how to manage contractors and timelines. So there's been a lot of learning that's happened. It's made me a much more well-rounded person. I think before I was very pigeonholed into just the sales and marketing roles. And this forced me into ops, HR, finance, all these other things. And I've made a million mistakes. I don't know. But we're still in business. So we're doing great. We've done one more thing right than wrong. So we're still in business.
That's great. Well, you just mentioned something important, which is marketing. We love to talk about best marketing practices. So based on your experience and your observation, of course, what are the best marketing practices for the highest ROI?
So I think that you have to come up with a social media strategy that communicates really, really clearly what you do and what you're good at, and like who your ideal customers are. And then make sure that that information is disseminated everywhere. And if you're a small company and you want to appear like a big company, the simplest thing you can do is get a service like a Buffer, Sendable, HubSpot, etc., and put your information on all the social media, and and then put relevant information, for example, for LinkedIn, certain kind of more business oriented stuff, a little bit more fun stuff on TikTok, etc., once you can sort of differentiate further. But if not, like, just put it everywhere. I cannot tell you how many times people have been like, God, you're so active on LinkedIn. I'm not active on LinkedIn. My team organizes all of our images and does all the stuff and does all the quotes and everything like that. It just posts on LinkedIn too, and it keeps us front of mind. So I think, the simplest thing you can do is just make sure that you are everywhere. And then when you have the ability to, do more differentiated content, you do the differentiated content based on the platform. That, I think, is probably like a very easy thing to do. Now, that being said, we're a small company. We don't do that. We only use basically what we use, and it is what it is. And then you now have to start thinking about, are you findable on the chatbots, and how do you become findable on the chatbots? I haven't figured it out yet. I'm working on it. So I can report back on that if I get success on all those kinds of things. But as search changes, sorry, I have a cold. As search changes, we do need to think about, what makes the most sense and what items, so speaking to people, but also speaking to chatbots when they start to actually make decisions. I don't think for a multi-$1,000 Moss wall, a chatbot is necessarily going to make that choice, but it might find it and it might recommend us. And that's where we want to be right now.
From your point of view, how would you define leadership, and what are the great leadership qualities a good leader must have?
I think leadership is deciding that you're going to do something and then getting other people enrolled in that vision and making sure that they stay on board and that they don't abandon ship when things get hard, and that you celebrate wins together, and you work through challenges together. And I think that, I don't have like a super top-down leadership style. I actually think that I work for my team, because there are years when I have worked for my team and not for myself. And then there's been other years where it changes. And so I have a more kind of collaborative, I really think and try and listen to the people who are actually doing the Moss and applying the Moss on a day-to-day basis. So if they're seeing something, hearing something, I want to know about it so that, I can try and come up with a solution at my level to make them feel really good and make them feel like, they're going to be able to accomplish their tasks and feel uplifted and feel like, they did a great job, because it was clear, it was organized, and, we don't have to rework things and things like that. Not saying that doesn't happen, but I'm just saying that, I think my job as a leader is to try and create that framework for them so that it's smooth. There's work for everybody all the time, and trying to, smooth out the ups and downs of business and sales cycles, etc.
Have you had any role models, any mentors who help you shape your career journey over the years?
Yeah, of course. I have had a lot of different people that I've worked with, who I've learned from. And, I've had a very weird career. I've probably had one of the weirdest careers that any person has ever had. Who sells moss walls for 9 years? That's nuts. But so I've worked in a lot of different industries. I'd say I worked with my uncle for probably 4 or 5 years, and he was a very brilliant real estate investor, and business person. And so, I learned a ton from him about sort of how do you structure business and, dealing with customers and those kinds of things. And then I've had, I worked at a company called Endlessly Organic, and we did organic produce because I got real sick of real estate and construction stuff for a while. And so that was very fun. But I had a woman who I worked with, and we're still friends to this day. Her name's Cheryl. And Cheryl is she's an amazing operations person. She's so organized. And so I learned a lot about how do you stay organized in projects? How do you manage difficult customers? Those kinds of things. I think each business that I've been in has really created an like I've tried to observe something that I'm not good at or something that makes me uncomfortable in every situation so that I can take those learnings that can only be experienced through time and through exposure to then get better, right? Like, oh, okay, so that's how they handled that person who called in with this insane problem. I didn't take it she would just roll through that. And that was a really amazing learning lesson for me. And then I've had different coaches. So I've worked with a guy named Tim Uchuk. He is amazing. He does this thing called the Perfect Week. He has an app now that's very cool where literally you like create your week. And he helped me grow my company, like literally triple my revenue in like a year and a half. So he's just like an amazing mentor. And then I do follow a lot of, like the sort of mentor people like Ryan Dice and Alex Ramosi and those people, Tony Robbins. I do a lot of mindset stuff with that. I'm constantly looking at what am I not getting? And like, why am I not getting it? And there's some amazing content that's out there that's available for people now. You just have to look for it and you got to spend the time watching it and trying to really internalize and put it into practice.
Key career lesson. If there is one key career lesson that you learned the hard way, what would it be that you can share with us?
Keeping the wrong people in jobs for too long. I would say that is myself included, by the way. And so, I think, I've had team members where it was like, you were great for a certain period, but then it became more difficult or they weren't able to like kind of transition. I've had, and then I've stayed in jobs too long where it was like, this is hurting me and this is hurting the company, but I don't know where else to go. So I think it's like, if that would be a career lesson that I would take on is, really being inquisitive around, is this the right role for the right person? Am I in the right role for me? And, are there other opportunities that might be better? And not being afraid to do that. Now, that being said, like, I'm also notorious for being like, I've had enough and I just jump off a cliff and do something completely different. So, like everybody's got different personality types, but mine is not very cautious. It's not at all. That being said, like I don't like hurting people's feelings. So I've kept people on my team for a long time that should not have been on my team for that long. And they hurt the business and they hurt me because I then ended up having to like do their work because they weren't capable. So that's been really challenging.
We have a little tradition in the American Business Podcast. I have a question for you coming from our previous guest. And after that, I'll ask you to leave me a question in this episode and I'll take your question and ask to our coming guest.
Okay.
And the question coming from our previous guest is, what is one thing about leadership that most leaders privately know that is true, but afraid to admit it publicly?
Everything ends with you. Like it's your fault if things are not going well. You can blame the organization, you can blame the economy, but ultimately, like, there's people who are succeeding at every period of time in history. There are people who are succeeding in every transition. So if things are broken, or if you have people on your team who are not the right people on your team, that's your decision making that you're not doing because it's uncomfortable to make that decision. You'd rather just kind of like let it go. I think that's probably something that most people just, they don't want to be uncomfortable. So they'd rather deal with something that's the status quo, even though they know it sucks, than, deal with the consequences of having to fix it, even though they know like in a month or two, fixing it will make it so much better.
And your question for the next guest?
My question for the next guest was, if you were to start all over again from the beginning, would this be the business that you would start, or would you start something else?
I love this question. Okay, looking forward to asking this question in the next episode. Okay, well, in this part of the American Business Podcast, is there any question that you would like to ask me?
Sure. So you do like workflows and automation stuff and all of those kinds of things, and that's something that like I've been playing with a lot. Are there any automations that you have seen that have had like exponential either time savings or exponential, marketing that are not that complicated to install or put into people's businesses?
Yes, that's a good question. So it depends on the size of the company and depends on the pain point in general. For example, so in small and mid-sized organizations, we've done a lot of lead generation, demand generation type of workflows that help them speed up and automate their lead generation process, that they became more responsive, and it also helped them get more real opportunities. That's one example that I can say. We also do a lot of accounts payable automation for some organizations. They have a lot of bills coming in that they need to pay to their vendors for, and then but they get stuck in terms of getting the invoices, checking with the purchase orders, checking with the receipts from the warehouse, and it takes time. And when it takes time to pay, then they ruin the relationship with the vendor. So we created a lot of accounts payable automation that really help a lot. So in general, finding the as simple as possible tool that you can really manage internally for small and mid-sized businesses is a great idea. When the organization grows, becomes a little mid-market, upper mid-market type of organization, then it is time to get a partner, a company that's going to work with you, help you implement the system, train the team members, and so on. Because the thing about workflows is once you create it, it never stays the same. As your organization evolves, that reflects on your processes. Hence, the workflow updates will be needed. So it's just like a living organism. It's gonna change with your organization's evolution as it evolves, and that will reflect on the workflow. So simple tool is the best to start. When the processes gets complicated, make sure I always recommend to get a software partner that will work with your organization.
I think that's a really good point, because I know that, I've been reading articles where they say things like, they signed up for these big AI contracts and nobody's using the AI because they don't know what to do with it. That's a really good example of okay, we're going to put all this stuff in place, but we're not going to tell people what to use it for or how to use it or any of that stuff. And if it doesn't if it doesn't move the needle, I can tell you, we've had situations where we've actually gone analog because it's more efficient to go analog than to go digital. And then there's other things where we went very digital and it's been amazing. So it's you also have to assess, how is your team actually using these tools, right? Because your business is not a hammer and a saw and a thing. It's how you use the hammer, saw, and thing to deliver on the product.
Yes,
and I think a lot of people are losing sight of that.
I agree. So there is no one size fits all. So I'm with you 100%. So we've seen sometimes organizations. So in a way, AI is an opportunity for small and mid-sized businesses because now it's affordable, accessible, practical. You don't have to be a Fortune 500 company or a bank to implement this technology, which is great.
Amazing.
Then it comes to your point. How am I going to use it in my business? Is it going to help me or hurt me? So that is really the decision that business leaders, they need to make, and this is really case by case. In general, they need to find, the business leaders, they need to find the right time to implement it. However, at the end of the day, business software systems, including AI, these are tools that are designed to make things easy. So just to support your point, if a business gets a technology that is supposed to make things easy for the organization, if it is not making it easy, then just like you mentioned, rightly so, then that may not be a great idea. So we see different clients that they implement technology in different forms. Sometimes we help them keep their manual part of their operations or more or less technology part. They just fill the form. And then we do we put together some coding or integration, and then we get their traditional form that they've been using for years, and then we fill the modern software automatically. Now the business leader can see the reports, can see the dashboard, what is working, what is not working. They can compare it, and they can make really managerial decisions, and they can go to the bottom of it, meaning addressing the root cause. So we do that too. So it's really case by case, and it starts with the leader. Kudos to you that you are looking for solutions. You are interested. It's all about reading and learning, and understanding what others are doing, and even you asked me that question, that also shows your leadership in a way. You are curious,
Oh,
you like
thank
to learn.
you.
Very important, very important.
Well,
That's part of the learning process and
everything that's coming out,
important step.
I think that like for most entrepreneurs, like you have to be crazy to do this, first of all, because I could make a lot more money if I just went to work for like some gigantic company. Now I wouldn't have the same stability, I wouldn't have the same flexibility. You know, I had a personal family matter come up this week. You know, my team just like picked up the slack, and I didn't have to like call my boss and be like, hey, I had a personal matter. Like, it was just, you know, so those are the kinds of things that, you know, once you get over and hump, being an entrepreneur is really awesome. On the flip side, everything stops with you. So if you're having a bad week, you're having a bad quarter, you're having a bad, you know, whatever, bad year in some cases, that's on you. And so, you know, that's why I think that this personality type, being entrepreneurial, is like also about learning all the time. Again, I didn't come from this background. Like, I've always just been a marketing and salesperson, and that's honestly like what I like doing. The rest of this stuff, you know, I've learned about workflows, I've learned about, you know, project coordination and Trello and Asana and all these other, you know, technologies that are out there. And they, by the way, those technologies catapulted my business into a completely different category because of like being able to visualize everything and see things and that kind of stuff. But then there's a point where like there's an end to that, right? And you know, one of the simplest ones, like I love Zapier. That probably saves me like 20, 30 hours a month, just like zapping around information that we used to copy and paste.
Yes.
That's a great, I mean, it's not, you know, it's $20 a month. Like that's an amazing thing, but it takes time to set them up. And you do have situations where if you don't set it up correctly, I had a Zapier zap 700 emails to someone. So, you know, you got to be careful with all this kind of stuff too. It doesn't, you know, and that's where, you know, when everyone's like, oh, AI is going to take over everything. I'm like, Zapier sends 700 emails from its bot creating it in this way. I think we've got a little bit of time before, you know, it could be 2 years. I have no idea.
That is true.
But I think
That's
that
true.
like,
we don't know.
We don't know. I mean, that's the thing, is that we don't know. And so I just use the tools that are actually cool and fun. And I've just tested things out. I've played with different apps. The great thing is they cost anywhere from like $20 to $100 a month. And you don't have to like sign long-term contracts. So try some stuff, play with it. I mean, that's what's fun about this, you know, this kind of stuff. And then you figure out, okay, I love this software. This software is driving me crazy. Or this software is actually creating more work for me than I want to be doing. And so like, you know, and weighing on that.
Yes, these are great insights. I truly appreciate it. Well, as times are changing with technology and also with the impact of AI, what is your career advice for the next generation professionals?
Learn how to think and learn how to discern, because AI, as brilliant as it is, and even if it's trained on all your things, it still needs human discernment. I've actually fired employees because they use ChatGPT so much without discernment that I was like, I didn't hire you to copy and paste ChatGPT. I need you to be able to do your job. And so I think it's like understanding processes, understanding patterns, being anticipatory in terms of like, okay, these are the tools that are coming out. So, you know, first we had a saw, and then we had and then there was like the chainsaw, right? So you have like a manual saw, now you have a chainsaw. And that's kind of like how I think about AI. It's like before we're all just like going back and forth with our little brains, and now we've got a chainsaw that can go 10,000 miles an hour. But a chainsaw in the wrong hands with too much authority, it may or may not get you to where you want to go. It's in my experience, which is still limited. I've only been playing with AI for about 2 years. It's you know, it still needs a lot of guidance from humans, and it's still not great, even if you set it up and spend 1 million hours organizing it. On the flip side, does it make certain things much faster? Does it help with writing? Does it help with ideation? Those things are really, really cool, but you need to have discernment around whether or not this is an actual thing you need to do, or this is just like the AI slap that because you asked it a question that it knows. And I think people get really confused because it's like, oh, AI knows everything. It's like, kinda, but kinda not. and it may or may not understand your specific context. And if you do X, Y, or Z thing, it could actually be really detrimental to your, to your website or to your business or whatever. So I think that that's something really to keep in mind. I also think staying on top of the trends and staying on top of the implementation of AI. So how are people actually using AI and using it effectively to move business forward, get more customers, make more money, make things faster? Those are the things when you go into an interview that you can say to someone, hey, I know about these cool tools that are going to speed up our operations so much that I may actually work myself out of a job, or work myself into a better job than this because I can provide X, Y, or Z value for you because I spend a lot of time focused on this in my free time. I'm very interested in this. And I think that like those conversations are not being held, in the younger generations that are coming out, because people who are open-minded, I'm not talking about huge corporations because that's just not the world I live in. I live in a small business world, but in small business world, there are so many people that are like hungry for help me do things faster, help me do things cheaper, help me do things so that I can compete with the big boys and do something different. And so I think that there's just a lot of opportunity for people like that if they come in and if they sort of can toot their own horn in a way like, I'm going to solve your problem with these tools that I see. And if we see that the tool is actually problematic, we're going to take it out. And I think that that's a very different way of talking about this stuff versus, I know how to use ChatGPT. Well, what does that even mean? You know what I mean? So there's some great, and it's not hard to learn, and you can really impress people with, not that much knowledge, because most people who are my age, mid 40s, they're not necessarily paying attention to that. They are paying attention, but like I say like probably next 5 years above us, where they didn't grow up sort of AI native or computer natives, they're not paying attention in the same way unless they're being forced to, or they like old school or whatever. So you got to sort of speak to, who your audience is. And that's what I would say overall, what I would recommend for the next generation is, how are you going to solve business problems? How are you going to solve them better than other people that are older than you, that have more experience than you, that kind of thing. And if you have those kinds of conversations, it's a very different conversation than, well, I can come here and I can analyze this and I can do that. It's like, no, I need you to solve my problems.
For those who like to continue this conversation, learn more about your company and get in touch with you, what is the best way?
So the best way is to go to greenwallscapes.com. And you can see it written here on the in my screen. You can also visit us on social. We are at Green Wallscapes. And you can also find me on LinkedIn, Lindsay Sher Burgess on LinkedIn.
Well, Lindsay, thank you so much for being with us in your busy schedule. And thank you for sharing your professional insights and professional wisdom with us in the American Business Podcast.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me.
It was great. Thank you. And I wish you a great weekend. Thank you.
Bye.
And to our listeners and to our viewers, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. It was really educational, very informative, as it always is in the American Business Podcast. How about you? What do you think about AI? How are you planning to apply AI in your business or in your coming career? Share your thoughts in the chat box. I'll truly appreciate it. And if you haven't done so, please subscribe, like our YouTube channel, the American Business Podcast. If you haven't done so, you can scan this QR code and it'll take you directly to our YouTube page and you can subscribe. We'll truly appreciate it. And we'll be right back after a short break. Thank you. Would you like to listen to music during your work time? We are here to help. We created ABP Office Music Pod, powered by the American Business Podcast. ABP Office Music Pod is for you, the working professional. You can enjoy jazz, lo-fi, smooth jazz, classic music, and more during your work time. We keep the music positive and energetic. You can go to the YouTube channel of the American Business Podcast, or you can scan this QR code and start listening right away. There is more coming in the American Business Podcast, and this is one of them. Enjoy ABP Office Music Pod during your work time, and thank you very much for your support. Would you like to start your business podcast? We are here to help. My name is Kevin Devecioglu. I am the founder and host of the American Business Podcast, the voice of American business. When we started the American Business Podcast on February 28, 2025, we had only one mission in mind: to promote, support, and uplift American businesses, nonprofits, manufacturers, and the American business community. Within our first 6 months, we managed to pass 100,000 YouTube subscribers, and we received YouTube Silver Award. This is an important award. It shows our dedication to American business and to the American Business Podcast viewers, subscribers, and American Business Podcast community. Now you can have your own branded company podcast within the American Business Podcast network. You can promote your company, your products, your services, and you'll have instant visibility in front of thousands of the American Business Podcast viewers, subscribers, and followers. You can promote your company, your products and services. You can educate and inspire businesses and individuals. More importantly, you can tell your story, your brand story. How did you get started? What makes you different? And how you are helping your customers and communities. As you know, in the American Business Podcast, I've been talking to more than 100 American businesses. Each business has a story that is inspiring and motivational. I know your business also has a great story which is motivational and inspiring. It is time for you to have your business podcast within the American Business Podcast network. We help you start your business podcast and we help you grow your business. This is a great opportunity for you to be visible in the marketplace in front of thousands of the American Business Podcast viewers and subscribers. And this is a great opportunity for us to fulfill our mission to promote, support, and uplift American businesses. Please send us an email and let's get the conversation started. It is paas@americanpodcast.tv. Business podcasting as a service, powered by the American Business Podcast, the voice of American business. The American Business Podcast is America's fastest growing educational business podcast network in this age of AI. My name is Kevin Devecioglu. I'm the founder and host of the American Business Podcast, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you, working with you, and help you grow your business with your new business podcast. Thank you very much. Support for the American Business Podcast comes from Gemini Trust. Gemini makes crypto simple. Find, trade, and buy over 70 different coins, including Bitcoin and Solana, on the best cryptocurrency platform. Gemini Trust. Start trading crypto here. I have the QR code on the screen. You can scan the QR code and start signing up today. Because they have a great customer service, you can reach out to them and get assistance 24/7. Scan the QR code and start trading crypto on Gemini. Thank you for your support. Support for the American Business Podcast comes from Anywhere Apps by Kirk Consulting, now Cherry Baker. It is time to digitize and automate your business processes. Anywhere Apps designed for small and mid-sized companies as well as enterprise-level companies to help you digitize and automate your business processes. Today, I'd like to talk about one of the Anywhere apps that's very popular in the US. It is called Nonprofit Management Anywhere. If you are a nonprofit and you like to manage your donations, volunteers, fundraising events, your grants, and other documents for compliance and operational purposes, consider Nonprofit Management Anywhere. It is a completely cloud service. You can start using it today with no need for local installation on your server or on your local laptop and computers. It is user-friendly and it's easy to deploy, and you can start using it today. I have the QR code on the screen. You can scan the QR code and you can learn more about Anywhere apps, including Nonprofit Management Anywhere. Well, there is more. If you'd like to talk to me directly about Anywhere apps, you can just send me an email directly, kevin@kerconsulting.com. Anywhere apps are modern, they are easy to use, they are affordable, practical, and more importantly, that's designed for you to help you digitize and automate your business processes. Scan the QR code or just send me a direct email, kevin@kerconsulting.com. Thank you for your support. Support for the American Business Podcast comes from Otter AI. Otter is the AI note taker that builds your knowledge and powers your workflow with transcription, automated summaries, AI chat, and more. Get your AI-powered assistant for meeting notes, tasks, and more. Scan the QR code on the screen and sign up today. Otter AI is the latest note taker that you can utilize, and you can set your meetings, you can take your notes, and you can also set up your follow-up actions automatically with the help of the Otter AI. Scan the QR code and sign up today. Thank you for your support. Support for the American Business Podcast comes from Reddit. Do you know the biggest challenge nowadays for American small businesses? That is visibility. That's why we partner with Reddit, Reddit for Business. Reddit has more than 400 million weekly visitors. Furthermore, Reddit is reliable. Reddit is the number one source for real reviews on products, services, and brands. There is a promotion going on. When you spend $500, you'll get $500 in ad credit from Reddit. True story. I am a Reddit user. Anytime I need feedback or review for a product or service, I go to Reddit. I get the real answers, real feedback from real people, from Reddit communities. Scan this QR code and sign up for Reddit advertising for your business. Get the visibility for your company, your products, and services. Scan the QR code and sign up today. Thank you for your support. Support for the show comes from Yelp. You know, I've been talking to more than 100 business owners in the American Business Podcast. Do you know the biggest problem for small businesses nowadays? It is visibility. That is why you should sign up and list your business on Yelp for Business. I have the QR code on the screen, and when you scan the QR code, the form will show up on your screen and you can sign up on the registration form. It comes with free trial with no obligation. Make it easy for your customers to find you. Do you know there are more than 70 million customers visiting Yelp website looking for services from businesses just like yours, restaurants, home services, professional services, and many other businesses are being searched on Yelp on daily basis. That's a great opportunity. If you list your business on Yelp, you'll be findable, searchable, and you'll be visible. When you are visible, when your customers are able to find you, you're in business. You can get opportunities, you can get leads, you can build a healthy and profitable pipeline. Consider Yelp for Business. Scan the QR code, sign up, and start your free trial. It comes with free trial. Very comfortable, no obligation. List your business and start getting the results and enjoy the benefits of Yelp Business. Thank you for your support. Thank you for being with me in the American Business Podcast. If you'd like to be a guest in the American Business Podcast, please send us an email, guestbooking@americanpodcast.tv. If you'd like to sponsor ABP, if you'd like to advertise in our podcast episodes, please send us an email, grow your business at americanpodcast.tv. You can advertise your company, your products, your services, and your brands in the American Business Podcast. Please send us an email. Grow your business at americanpodcast.tv. You can also visit our website, americanpodcast.tv, to learn more about the American Business Podcast as well as our coming streaming schedule. Now you can have your branded company podcast within the American Business Podcast network. We call it Business Podcasting as a Service, PaaS. If you're interested in starting your business podcast in the American Business Podcast network, please send us an email, paas@americanpodcast.tv. As part of our international expansion, we started international podcast editions. When you scan this QR code, it'll take you to our YouTube page. And please go to the podcast section in our YouTube page and you'll see our international podcast editions. They are ABP Espanol, ABP German, ABP French, ABP Hindi, ABP Portuguese, and ABP Turk, that you can listen to American Business Podcast in 6 different foreign languages. Okay, well, we are in the process of increasing our presence in social media. If you're on LinkedIn, please scan this QR code and subscribe, follow us on LinkedIn. If you're on TikTok, please scan this QR code. It'll take you to our TikTok page. Please subscribe. Please follow us. If you are on Instagram, please scan this QR code. It'll take you to our Instagram page and please subscribe. If you are on Facebook, we'll also appreciate your help and support. Please scan this QR code. It'll take you to our Facebook page and please follow us. And finally, we are on IMDb, next to other reputable media productions. Please scan this QR code, go to our IMDb page, and please rate us on IMDb. We'll truly appreciate your help and support. I'd like to thank you for your help. Thank you for your support. I'm looking forward to seeing you in coming the American Business Podcast episodes. The American Business Podcast is the voice of American business. The American Business Podcast, America's fastest growing educational business podcast network in this age of AI. Thank you very much for your help and looking forward to seeing you. Thank you.